welcome back for a long anticipated episode of Spill It with Morg. I took a little hiatus and I'm happy that you're my first guest back. This
I'm
is
very
one
excited.
of my very best friends, Izzy. So very excited.
Yay. Thanks for having me.
So we are going to talk about what we're going to be drinking. So go ahead and let them know.
All right. So we've got the lemon drop martini. So this is a special drink for me because it was the signature drink at my wedding.
Love
And
that.
let's go ahead and just
Give it a little go.
Yeah. Cheers.
All right. Cheers. Oh, that is so good. It's like tart.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that a lot. So what's all in it?
So we've got vodka, triple sec, lemon juice, simple syrup, and that's it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice and easy peasy.
You can add lemonade if you want to, but I like it like this.
Yeah.
Andrew made this one today. The ones that were at our wedding, I feel like were like perfection. I've been trying to reach that since, but I have no idea what the recipe was.
Yeah.
So, you know.
Yeah. No, I love a good lemon drop martini. My favorite one I've ever had was at St. Elmo's, which I know sounds kind of bougie.
Yeah.
I ate there one time with my family, and my mom and I both got them, and they are so good.
Very good.
So
one of my faves, a good summer drink.
It is a good summer drink, a nice closing to summer since it's Labor Day weekend. So
yes, fall's coming.
Is coming.
I'm a summer girl, but you know, as I get older, I like fall.
Oh, fall's the best. Fall is the best. Okay, so besides a lemon drop martini, what do you typically gravitate towards whenever you're drinking?
So I usually like craft beer. I normally don't go for like cocktails or anything like that. I like craft beer. IPAs, like a hazy IPA has been my favorite lately.
Nice.
So yeah, that's kind of my go-to.
Yeah. Okay. So craft beer and lemon drop martinis.
Yes.
See, I think everybody already knows already, but very much a tequila girl myself. So yeah. Do you like tequila?
I like a margarita, but I'm not a fan of just like straight tequila.
You're like, no, none for me. Thank you.
Honestly, like straight liquor in general, not a fan. I try, but I can't do it.
Right. Yeah. No, I like a good craft beer, especially like whenever like we're all home and like can go to like the feed store.
Right.
So much fun.
Yep. Shout out feed store, love it.
Shout out feed store.
Fave brewery. Just a short walk down the road.
Yeah,
about 3 minutes.
Yeah, you guys can definitely don't have to worry about drinking and driving because you guys can just walk back home. So nice. Okay, so how did we become friends?
Okay, so I was thinking about this when you sent me the questions.
Yes.
So I think that we started becoming friends at the Charleston trip.
Yep.
Like that was like the moment where our friendship like truly started.
Yep.
One of my most favorite vacations ever.
Oh, so much fun. We all went to Charleston for our friend Daly's birthday celebration kind of thing. Yeah, and it was like right before COVID happened. So it was kind of like the last like kind of like big besides New Year's, but like when we had like that little trip, I was like, man, life's so great. And then COVID happened.
Yes. But we had so much fun just going to like random places, random bars, random restaurants.
It was so much fun.
Went on that notebook tour.
Yeah, so romantic.
Yep. So that was 2019. And I was thinking back to like, I know, the moment that like, I always knew who you were because of Daly, our friend Daly. She was on one of the previous podcasts. And I knew who you were, but I'd never really like interacted with you until we were both in her wedding.
Yeah.
And that was 2017, December.
Oh my gosh, life is going by so fast.
Yeah. So I remember we went to her little bachelorette get together, went and got massages and stuff, and it was very fun. It was relaxing. I like that kind. Yeah. But I remember coming home and telling Andrew like, "Oh, that Morgan Judy, she's actually like really nice."
Oh.
Like, I mean, like I wasn't surprised, but I was like, I had good conversation with her, and like I enjoyed hanging out with her. So I remember,
you said that. That's so sweet.
And then I don't know what happened like in that time frame because we got married in June.
Yeah.
And you weren't at the wedding.
Right.
I don't know. I don't think we had really become friends yet.
I really wish we could like teleport back because I would have loved to have been at that wedding.
I know.
It would have been so much fun.
Yeah, I wish you would have been there. And it's hard to imagine that you weren't there.
It's just so weird to think about, like, you know, how much like life has changed. Like, you know, Trenton wasn't there.
I
Trenton
know.
wasn't in the, in the friend group.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Patty wasn't there. Jared.
Crazy.
Like,
yeah. And now it's like if you were to have the wedding today, it may look totally different.
Right.
So,
yeah. You would have been one of my bridesmaids for sure.
Oh my gosh, it's so crazy.
I know it is. But yeah, so the Charleston trip, and then after that, I feel like our friendship really grew. And now you're one of my closest friends. Like, it's hard to imagine that we weren't ever friends before.
I know. It's weird to think about because I text you and daily at like every day.
Yeah,
every
day.
Day.
Our group text message.
Little group text.
Yep.
Little chamber of secrets. What we normally call it on Instagram. That's what we ought to change it to in texting.
We should. Yeah.
No, that's typically how I remember it too. Is the Charleston trip was whenever like we really got close. I think.
Yeah.
And I agree with you. That was like one of the most fun trips I've been on. It was just a good time. Like we had good company. Everyone was like a fun time, willing to do the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Like, we were all on the same page. Yeah. It was so much fun.
We had that little competition. That was really fun.
I know. And now I feel like that's like a thing, like a staple with our friend group. Every time we go somewhere, we have to make it a competition of some sort. It's like, oh, whoever runs the fastest to the end of the street or just something stupid like that. But like we make everything a competition. And I like it because I'm very competitive.
Yeah, same.
So I like getting that competitive streak out. So yeah,
good times.
So kind of like in the realm of you and Andrew's wedding, how did you and Andrew meet? Like, what is the story? Let's just take us through it.
Okay, from the very beginning.
From the very beginning. Okay. Let's hear it.
So we've been together 14 years.
It's insane.
Yeah. 2009. We met on June 1st. I remember the specific day because I had been at a high school baseball game. I went to Linton and he went to Bloomfield. So I had been to this baseball game with some of my other friends, and we decided to go to McDonald's after. One of my good friends was friends with Ryan's sister, Caitlin. So Ryan and Andrew were with Caitlin that night, and we all met up at McDonald's. I had interacted with Andrew a little bit in the past, but it wasn't like we had never really talked to one another. We just like had said hi in passing.
Yeah.
Which we found out later. But we met at McDonald's that night in Linton, had a conversation about, we were both in 4-H. We had both shown herbs, which was kind of a joke between us, like very random. Andrew's mom planted his herbs for him. Yeah.
Shout out Christy.
Shout out Christy. But he had like gotten a better ribbon than me or something in 4-H, like, and I had worked so hard growing my herbs from like seeds.
Yeah.
The way I thought you were supposed to, and they had went and got theirs like right before the fair.
Cheaters.
So yeah, so that was like a thing that we talked about that night, just joking around. And then I texted Kate and was like, so I got confused. I thought that they were both her brothers. That night when she introduced them, she said, "This is my brother Ryan and Andrew." So I was like, oh. So I said, "Hey, your brother's hot. Is he single?" And she thought I was talking about Ryan originally.
Oh my gosh.
So thank God I wasn't, because I would not want to mess with Daly. No, I'm just kidding. But so we found out, I was like, no, Andrew is the one I'm talking about. Yeah. So he had a girlfriend at the time, but apparently they were on the outs. So so I had a softball like regional game that next weekend. So Caitlin came and she brought Andrew. Aww. And so Andrew watched me play, and then I went to his golf sectional, and then he went to my state softball game.
Look at the support.
Yeah. So he even wore Linton colors. He wore a Linton Minor shirt, which is like unheard of. Yeah, that is. Had my name on the back.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So after that night we met at McDonald's, I had got on Facebook and messaged him. I apparently didn't care that he had a girlfriend, but somehow we were like, but it was like from the beginning, we like the conversation with him was just so easy. And like that's something that was like different than, I mean, obviously high school relationships or like whatever, but it was different than any guy I'd ever tried to date before. Right. Because it seemed like I always had to like put in a lot of effort or it was awkward or, whatever. Right. But with him, it's always just been like easy. It's been easy to have a conversation. We make each other laugh. And, so we met on June 1st. By June 15th, he had broke up with the girlfriend and we made it official.
Hey.
Yeah, we had our first date. We went to the movies in Linton, which is like a very small movie theater. We saw Land of the Lost with, I think Will Ferrell was in it.
Yeah.
It was a terrible movie.
Yeah, I think I
very
remember
bad.
It being terrible. Yeah.
And we were both just like, this is awful, but it was still fun.
You still didn't want to leave because you wanted to hang out with each other.
Right. Yeah. So we started dating. We spent the whole summer together.
Oh.
I was getting ready to start my freshman year at IU. He was starting his senior year at Bloomfield. So, yeah, I came home a lot to see him. I didn't spend a whole lot of time at IU my freshman year.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to come back and spend time with him.
Yeah.
And his parents, I mean, I understand they wouldn't let him go up there and stay with me.
Right.
Which I probably wouldn't now either with my son.
Yeah, you're like, now I understand.
Yeah, but at the time I was like, just wanting to see him. And then he went to IU, and we had some of our best memories together at IU, going to the sporting events and, all the IU things.
Mm-hmm.
Lived in Bloomington. The hardest probably time in our relationship was when I was at ISU for grad school, and I was in Terre Haute and he was in Bloomington. And just like, that was the first time we were ever really like apart, So even though it was an hour away, it sucked, but we made it work and been together. So we've been married 5 years now, which is crazy to think about. Got married in June. June's like our month.
It really is.
Yeah, had our baby in June. But yeah, it's just, we've grown a lot together. We're not the same people we were when we started dating. We've gotten older, become different people, and
still have stuck by each other.
Yeah, I mean, in the end, like, he's my best friend, so yeah.
I'm trying not to cry because I don't want to mess up my makeup, but that is very cute. No, I think it's really cool because I think I've said this to Daly and Ryan both, is that like it's really cool to have like two friends, like two sets of friends here that like have been in long relationships, because I think Daly and Ryan have been together for
since like junior high. Yeah.
Literally forever, I feel like. Since dinosaurs roamed the earth. But I mean, like, you guys have like both been like such good examples of like good relationships that like can go through different stages of life and yet still stick by each other. Because I get so scared, I think, and I've touched on a little bit here and there like in my past episodes of like just like that fear of like getting involved and then someone dipping out or me dipping out. So I mean, it's really cool to see like good examples of people that kind of go through hardships and stick together and have been with each other through several stages of life already. And you guys have only been together 14 years. Imagine how much more time you guys have together.
Yeah.
Like, it's just crazy to think about.
Yeah.
So,
it is crazy to think about all that we've been through together. I mean, really, really good times, really, really bad times, happy times, sad times.
Right.
I would have never thought either that we would move back to Bloomfield or Greene County, but here we are, and
you're settled.
Yeah, we're close to family. We have a baby. It's great. Yeah. And watching him, so going from boyfriend, fiance to husband, and now watching him become a dad, that's just like a whole new level of love. I mean, he was like the biggest support during my pregnancy and during all that. And I mean, he cooked all the meals, he cleaned the house, he would rub my feet when I was, really swollen and uncomfortable.
Yeah.
He was there for me through all that hard pregnancy stuff. And then when Landon got here, he just stepped right in, and just like the love he has for Landon is like, wow. I mean, you think you can't love him more, and then you watch him become a dad, and it's like, oh my God, so much more. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to not mess up my makeup. So you had Landon in June.
Yes.
And
June
so June is your month. Yeah.
June's our month. Yeah.
So he's getting ready to be 3 months.
Yes.
Wow.
I know. Time has flown by.
Yeah.
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So tell me, like, what was it like whenever you first held Landon? What was that feeling like?
Oh my God. Like, I had always imagined it, throughout the whole pregnancy and whatnot.
Yeah.
But like first holding him, now I'm going to say, like, the first time I held him, it was only for like a few seconds, and then they took him away to the NICU. So like, what I consider like my first time holding him was when we got to finally go to the NICU, and they put him on my chest, and it was just like, I literally felt like I melted. Like, oh my God, I've never felt so much love.
Yeah.
And like, oh wow, this little baby, like, we created it. It's unreal. It's like, you can't even explain how amazing it feels.
Yeah.
And just holding him, and it's like he knew too that I was his mom, which, I mean, he was so calm and just laying there, and he had his little IVs going. I was like, I just want to take you with me. But yeah, that first time holding him was amazing. Unreal.
Yeah.
So much love.
Yeah.
And so whenever they finally brought him to our room from the NICU, the first time holding him then, same thing. I mean, he was like crying and things when they brought him in, and then they set him on my chest and he immediately stopped crying. And then I started crying.
Because you're like, he just knows.
Yeah, it was like, wow, this, I mean, he was a part of me for 9 months. It's crazy. I'm finally holding him. Like, I had been waiting for that moment for so long.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I still feel like today I was holding him while he was napping, and I was just like, God, this is the best. It's just, yeah, I never knew I could feel a love like that. It's just different from any type of love I've ever felt.
So, moving on to the harder part of this topic of pregnancy, you kind of went through quite a hard time with staying pregnant. So, without, I mean, you can talk about as much as you're comfortable with.
Right.
Feel free to stop whenever you need to, but do you kind of want to touch on that briefly?
Yeah, I can. And I'm going to preface this by saying, like, if you're going through it and you want somebody to talk to, I'm here. Reach out to me, because I felt like when I was going through it, it is the most lonely I've ever felt in my entire life. Um, so we decided we were going to start trying 2021. It was like in the fall. So we started in October, didn't get pregnant the first month. November, tried again, got pregnant. And, I knew, like, you don't want to tell people because the risk of miscarriage in the first trimester and all that stuff. But even though I knew that, I never ever imagined that that would happen to me. I was thinking, like, not relevant. I don't need to even worry about that.
Yeah.
So when we got the positive pregnancy test, I like told all of our friends, I told all of you guys.
Right.
I remember we went out for Patty's graduation, and I was the sober one because I was like, oh, I'm pregnant, and like, so happy and everything. Told my parents, told our whole family. And we had already like even started like making plans, like, oh, boy or girl, or like he or she'll be due in August, like just, already thinking of it. And I, told some coworkers, told way too many people probably, but when you, like I said, like you don't think it's going to happen to
And you were
you.
excited. It's a very
Very
exciting
excited.
news. So I mean, I would understand why you were telling people, because
Yeah.
it is exciting and you would want to share that excitement with other people. So
Right.
I get that.
Yeah. And so I remember going to the bathroom. Now, this is kind of traumatic, so if this would bother you too, you might want to fast forward. But I remember going to the bathroom at work and, seeing blood and thinking, like, oh, this is weird. I mean, I'd never been pregnant before, and I'd never really learned about miscarriages or anything like that.
Right.
So immediately I called my best friend, Brittany, who's a women's health nurse practitioner, but still my best friend too. So I was kind of, hey, what's going on? Like, do you know what this could be? And she told me, some bleeding's common. Don't freak out, but I would call your OB and get it checked out. Yeah. And so I called, and they had me go get a blood draw. And the blood draw showed that my levels basically showed that I wasn't pregnant. So they called me, and the nurse on the line was like very, not very like empathetic. She was just like, hey, you had a chemical pregnancy, so just wanted to let you know. And I was like, what's a chemical pregnancy? Like, I didn't even know.
Yeah.
Googled it.
I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, it's a miscarriage before 6 weeks. So basically, like, the egg and the sperm, got together, but they didn't implant.
Gotcha.
So you get a positive pregnancy test, but then it doesn't progress. So I was like very heartbroken and confused. And I called Brittany again, and she's like, I hate that term chemical pregnancy. It's a miscarriage. Like, acknowledge it for what it is. And I remember saying, like, well, this is common, right? Like, it happens to a lot of people. And she's like, no, don't make it something less than what it is. Like, you are okay if you're sad about this. Like, process it the way you want to.
Yeah.
Called my mom. She was very upset. Our friends and family, we were all upset. It was right before Christmas that we found out, and that was hard. And we were like, okay, so we'll try again because it is very common and maybe it's just one of those things. So we tried again, got pregnant again, first try. This time we kind of waited to tell people and went to our first appointment, and we made it to our 9-week appointment where they do the ultrasound. Did the ultrasound, we got the picture, everything was fine. Um, I even took the picture into work and showed people, like, oh my gosh, look at this. They had the 3D photo of the baby and everything. And um, got to about where I would have been about 12 weeks. And I was in that same bathroom at work and saw blood again. And I was just like, what the heck is going on? And so I called my OB and they said, oh, we'll get you in for an ultrasound. You know, bleeding's common, like it can happen.
Right.
And so I called Andrew and he came in and we were like, oh, you know, we weren't even thinking anything about a miscarriage at that point. We were just like, it's just because the bleeding had stopped. It happened like one time. We were even talking like, oh, I wonder if they can tell if it's a boy or a girl in this ultrasound. Like maybe we'll be able to find out because we knew like around that time, like they could maybe see it in the ultrasound. We saw like babies in the waiting room and stuff. And so, like most traumatic experience in my life, and I still kind of have like flashbacks and PTSD of it, but like went in for the ultrasound and the tech was like looking around. We could see on the screen. The baby didn't look much different than what he or she had at the previous ultrasound. And I remember thinking, like, oh, that's weird. Like, they haven't grown, but maybe they don't grow that much in 3 weeks. And she was taking a really long time and like not saying anything. So I was like, is everything okay? And she said, something's not right. And then left the room. And me and Andrew just sat there and I just lost it. Like, I knew because she did the little measurements, like they do little measurements on your ultrasound, and it said like 9 weeks and 3 days. So we had made it to that 9-week appointment and everything looked fine. And then 3 days later, something happened. So the doctor came in and he was like, well, here's your options. You know, they're pretty straightforward about it. Like nobody was really, I was not even in a state to make a decision about what to do next. I had no idea. And they were like, here's your options. You can take a pill and it'll happen naturally, or you can go get a D&C. And so I said, well, I'll just take the pill because I don't want to have a surgery. And I hadn't really done much research, so I felt like I had to make a decision right then. So I went home. It was just like I was in a cloud of disbelief, I guess. Like I would take a nap and wake up and I would still have the symptoms of being pregnant, like nausea, all that, and forget for a moment, like, oh, I'm not pregnant anymore. Like that's that's weird. So I took the pill, it didn't work. I sat around at home for the whole day, missed work, called them. They said I could take some time, so just wait. So I waited another day, nothing happened. They gave me another round of the pills. Again, it didn't work. So I had to go in and ended up having to get a D&C. When I did go in for that, I had like the best group of women doctors, I will say, and anesthesiologists, nurses. They were all amazing. And they were all like very um, like caring and, you know, held my hand through the whole thing. I was still like very confused about the situation though, because I had no idea. Like I had never been through anything like this before. And I was just like, how could this be happening to me? Like we had made plans. Like I had bought things for this baby. Like we thought we were 12 weeks almost to the second trimester. And then find out that we no longer have this baby. And then the D&C and recovering from that, um, you know, pretty painful and just uncomfortable. So then, like, after that one was tough because the baby was like very real to me. And I had told so many people, and like we had the ultrasound picture, and it was like it just felt like it was just taken away from me,
Yeah.
and like I felt a loss, like one of my loved ones had died. I mean, my baby, was gone, and it just was really hard for me. And you feel all these feelings like I was searching, trying to find somebody to talk to who had been through this before. And turns out like all these people reached out to me. Like it is so common. Like so many people go through this and they
Yeah.
just don't talk about it. Like
Mhm.
even though it is very common.
Yeah.
And I listened to this podcast and like read these books, and they all talked about things that I was feeling. And, because I felt like I couldn't even look at a pregnant person without just feeling like so depressed and like, why, like, that should be me. Like, what is going on? And it, I feel really, really bad because our friend Daly was pregnant at the time and
Mhm.
she was expecting in May. And I felt like it was really hard for me to be excited,
Right.
even though I was so excited for them.
Yeah.
But I just kept thinking about like my baby, and like
Mhm.
they were supposed to be born around the same time and be friends,
Yeah.
and I hated feeling that way. And I felt so empty, and it took my body a while to not feel pregnant again. So it was
Mhm.
like a constant reminder. I mean, you have these hormones when you're pregnant, and they don't just go away.
Yeah.
When you lose a baby, it takes time. And so I would wake up and feel pregnant, and you know, my body wasn't mine for
Yeah.
like the longest time. And so, after that, I had a hard time going out with friends and just like being in public because I felt like I couldn't control my emotions. And I would just kind of revert back to thinking about it. And I felt like just like my heart had been ripped out. It just, I don't know. It was crazy.
Mhm.
I would cry every single day on my way to work. And I did that from then until pretty much I had Landon. Like I cried every day on my way to work. It it messed me up. But so we tried again after my body had recovered
Mhm.
and everything, and got pregnant again in May and had another chemical pregnancy. So that time we hadn't told anybody. And, each time I would go in and tell Andrew, I was super excited the first time. And then the second time I left him this note that he would find because I left
Mhm.
for work before him.
Yeah.
The third time I went in and it was just like, well, okay, I'm pregnant again. Like, surely it won't happen a third time,
Right.
So we were excited, but also like cautious.
Mhm.
And then I had the bleeding again. And so once you hit the third time, they refer you to a fertility specialist. So we went up to Carmel, and the fertility specialist basically told us we went through all this testing, um, all kinds of things, blood work, x rays, a lot of
Mhm.
stuff.
Yeah.
And he basically said, I don't see any reason why this is happening. So go ahead and try again if you want to. And so we were like, okay. So we did, got pregnant again. And it was July, and we had our first ultrasound at 6 weeks, saw the
Mhm.
heartbeat. So we were like, okay, awesome. Told our family again. When I got that pregnancy test, though, we were just more like, okay, here we go again.
Right.
Like it wasn't exciting. Like when you go through like a loss like that, you just don't get to be excited.
No.
You don't
Yeah.
get that like initial, oh my God, we're pregnant. Like,
Yeah.
you see on TikTok, like these wives showing their husbands the positive
Right.
pregnancy test and they're both
Yeah.
so happy. Like
Yeah.
we just didn't have that. I didn't even keep it. I was just like, here we go again. Like that was our response to it, which is
Yeah.
really sad.
Yeah.
And so at our 7 weeks, so our fertility doctor had us go up to see him every week. So at the 7 week one, we went in and there was no heartbeat. So fourth miscarriage, he was like, okay, something's not right. What's going on? And at that point, I just started thinking like, I'm not meant to be a mom. Like my body can't maintain a pregnancy. Like you start turning on yourself and thinking like there's something wrong with you. And that's definitely where my mind was. I feel like from March when we had that miscarriage at 12 weeks. Until then, I had been in this like, it almost felt like the world was like moving on and I was just in this standstill.
Yeah.
And like going out and doing anything, like I could have fun and, you know, be with my friends, but like inside I was dying. Like I was just in such a state of depression. Like all I wanted was to have this baby, and we tried so hard, and it's like we would get hope and then it would
Yeah.
get taken away.
Right.
And so I remember telling Andrew, like, I don't know if I can do this again. Like, I don't know if I can emotionally or physically. Like, my body had been pregnant and pregnant, not pregnant, pregnant, not pregnant for, you know, half a year.
Right.
And I was just like, I don't know if I even want to try again. So our fertility doctor had us wait a little bit and then had us try some medication, or had me try some medication and see if it would work. And so they had me going for ultrasounds before we even um, like tried to get pregnant that time, and said everything looks good, go ahead and we'll try again. So we did, and I got a positive test on the 21st of September 2022, and that one we were definitely like, we're not going to get excited. It's just, it is what it is. We'll see.
Yeah.
Everybody around me knew that what we were going through, the fertility doctor and stuff. So everybody was asking me. So I was very open with everybody, you know, like, this is what we're doing. Because if, you know, they had seen me through losses, you guys had been there for me. But this time we went every week. We would drive up to Carmel's like 2 hours. I missed a lot of work. My boss was great letting me have time off. My coworkers covered for me. Every week we would go. He would get a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger. We would see a heartbeat. Every ultrasound I would go in for, though, I would just have this anxiety. Like, I still don't know if I could go into an ultrasound without feeling that way. Just like flashbacks, you know, of every time they would say, there's no heartbeat, or you would look for it and it wouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And so that one was finally a good one, and he released me to my OB after we got to our second trimester, and that's when that was Landon. So not, you know, not to be like super sad, but that pregnancy was hard too. Like I had a subchorionic hemorrhage. So I don't mean to drag on and on about this topic, but
no, I think you should. I think it's important to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like I had such a great support system, and you guys and our family and my coworkers, like everybody was there for me, but I had never felt so alone.
Oh yeah.
And I would just like, I kind of felt like nobody gets it, and like people would come up and nobody knows what to say, and you know, it's not their fault, but like I had people saying some crazy stuff to me. Like I had somebody come up and tell me a story. She was going on and on about a story about her friend that had a baby that didn't make it. And I was like, why are you telling me this right now? This is not helpful.
Right. That's not what you say to somebody that just went through something that traumatic. That's just not it.
It was wild. And people would say, like, well, God has a plan. And like, okay, yeah, but that doesn't really make me feel better.
No.
Or at least you can get pregnant. I heard that a lot. You know, not being able to get pregnant and getting pregnant and having miscarriages, like, you know, two different but of the same really crappy things. Like one is not worse than the other or better than the other. Right. They both really suck.
Yeah.
You know, I had people say, well, at least it was early. It's like, you know, just things like that. It was hard. And you know, I'm not one to like say something back. I would just kind of take it. But anyways, so we had finally gotten pregnant. We hit the 7 week, saw the heartbeat, and I ruptured my Achilles. Had to go under general anesthesia, which is like.
Do you want to tell them how you ruptured your Achilles?
I was playing pickleball. The like most old person sport ever. We were really into pickleball at the time though, and like I loved it. We all loved it.
Oh, it's so much fun.
Oh, and it was Apple Fest weekend. We went played that Sunday and
literally left you guys, and 2 hours later
I was in the ER.
She's in the ER.
But yeah, ruptured my Achilles. I was only 7 weeks pregnant at the time that I ruptured it. So obviously I was freaking out because I knew that I would have to have surgery
Right.
and I didn't know what that meant for the pregnancy. My fertility doctor gave me the go ahead. He did one more ultrasound and saw everything was okay. And so I went in for surgery. And, the anesthesiologist was like, there's a 15% chance of miscarriage. This
And
was
you're
right
you're
before I
like
went in.
15% is enough for me. Like,
Yeah, I was getting ready to go in for
oh my
surgery. I was just
gosh.
like, I don't know if I want to do this now, but I
That's
have
terrifying.
to.
Yeah, now at that point.
I have to walk. I have to do my job. I have to do whatever. But went in for it. Surgery went fine, but 3 days later, I woke up and I had blood all over the bed, and it was like 4 in the morning, and I woke up Andrew. I said, I'm bleeding. And he said, your Achilles? And I said, no, like the baby. And we sat there at 4 a.m. crying, thinking, like, well, it happened again. Like, I mean, no
Right.
part of me would think that my baby survived that.
Yeah.
I, there was like, yeah, I was convinced. I was like, it's over. I called my doctor. Obviously, they weren't open. So I emailed them and said, I think I had another miscarriage. I think I texted you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And I laid on that couch in there because I couldn't walk because of my Achilles. And I listened to that Taylor Swift song about miscarriage and just like cried my eyes out. And I called my mom and I said, I'm just not meant to be a mom. Like, the universe is telling me something, I'm not meant to be a mom. And our doctor was like, well, come up for an ultrasound. We'll just, we're going to make sure. Don't freak out about anything yet. I said, okay, yeah, easier said than done.
Right.
I just had no hope at all whatsoever. And we went in and I didn't even look at the screen this time. I was just looking at Andrew, like, here we go. And my doctor's like, you might want to look up there. And there was a heartbeat. And we were 8 weeks pregnant and he was fine.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this hematoma in my uterus that was
Mm-hmm.
causing the bleeding.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, wow. Okay. Like, complete change of emotions here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. Okay. So this is really, yeah, he's okay.
Mm-hmm.
And we went back every week and he was still okay every time.
Yeah.
And yeah, and now I have this baby and I still can't believe it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, pregnancy was so stressful for me because I had never had a successful one. And I
Right.
was always kind of in the back of my mind, like waiting for something to go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Even when we got to the second trimester, I would just think, like, something's going to happen. Like,
Right.
I would freak out when I wouldn't feel movement, and I'd be on my way to work, like chugging cold water, like, please move. And he would. It's
Yeah.
like every time I would like freak out about it, he would move.
Like, I'm okay, mom.
Yeah, he was like, yeah, I'm all right. And so, yeah, we went in and I didn't truly believe that it was going to happen until I held him
Mm-hmm.
and he was there and I was like, wow, it's finally all this time. Like, he's finally here.
Yeah.
It was a journey and it was hard and it was the darkest time of my life. The
Yeah.
whole part, trying to get pregnant, pregnancy. And I had people telling me, like, oh, how are you feeling when I was pregnant? And I would say, I'm ready to have him. I'm done with this. And they
Yeah.
would say, like, well, you chose to do this. Like, why are you complaining about being pregnant?
Oh dear.
And I would say, it's not that I hate being pregnant. It's that I am so anxious
Yeah.
something's going to go
Your
wrong.
anxiety was in through the roof.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
ready for him to be here.
Yeah. To physically be able to see him and
Right.
know he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then it's crazy that I already had people asking me when I was going to have another. And I was just like, I can't even process that right now. The trauma that we went through to have him, like, who knows what's going to happen, but I don't know if I can go through that again.
I
And I would,
yeah.
I would do anything in the world. I would go through it again to have him because I love him more than anything in this
Right.
world. But like, it was the darkest time of my life. Like, that's the only way I can put it. No.
And it is the most like heartbreaking thing to see your friend go through. Like, I'm not going to talk about too much or I'll cry, but it just is honestly, I'm just really happy that Landon's here and that everything's okay. You guys are okay. And that, your journey, although it was the most bumpy and honestly, in my mind, the most unfair ever, I'm so glad that he's on the other side of it and that everything's okay because he's
He is very, very perfect.
I wanted you to talk about that. I mean, of course, with whatever you were comfortable with, but I
Right.
wanted the discussion to be talked about because I think for me, the older I'm getting, I don't know if it's because more women are talking about it. Because you were saying, like, I didn't know how common it was, or,
Right.
I felt like,
Yeah.
you feel like other people were reaching out to you and, like, sharing their experiences with you. I think for me, I never realized how common it was because I almost, and I feel like women don't talk about it. They talk about it way more than they used to. I feel
Right.
like it's being talked about more and more and more, and I think it
Yeah.
should be talked about because, as you just said, it was a very lonely time because, of course, none of us would understand even a fraction of what you were going through. We wouldn't have. I mean,
Yeah.
until you possibly go through that yourself, you would never understand what that's like.
Right.
And so I think it's such a crucial topic to bring up and discuss because I think if anybody else is possibly going through it, they could always find, camaraderie in other people that have gone
Yeah.
through it because it probably is a very, I couldn't even imagine.
It's
I
kind of like
couldn't.
you're a member of this like really, really terrible club. It sucks, but it is helpful to have somebody to talk to. So, like I said, if anybody wants to reach out, I am finally at a point in my life where I can talk about it without
Yeah,
crying. Like
right.
it took a lot, and I still mourn those babies.
Oh, of
Like
course.
I still get sad about it, but I'm willing to talk about it. And like in the future, I would love to have like a miscarriage support group or something like that.
Yeah. The more like that my friends are getting pregnant and having children, like just like the more I'm learning about like fertility and like pregnancy and motherhood,
Mm-hmm.
it is a whole women are just truly amazing. I just
It's yeah, no joke.
it's insane to
For
me just
real.
like what you guys go through and everyone's journey is so different and what I keep learning.
Right.
I'm like, by the time it's my turn, I may be a damn near expert on it because
Yeah.
everybody else has gone through something that's just like, okay, I'm learning now. I'm learning more about things that are,
Yeah.
yeah. But thank you for sharing that. I think it was
Yeah.
important to talk about, as I've said. But I think being able to talk about it now versus before, you've grown a lot
Oh,
from it.
absolutely.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm a different person. Like
yeah,
I've been through that, and like I said, if I were to try to get pregnant again, it wouldn't be this happy thing. It would be very anxiety provoking
yes,
for me. So
right,
that's why I'm not sure if I can do it again.
yeah.
But I don't feel like I need to explain that to anybody.
No,
you
and you
know?
shouldn't. You shouldn't.
Yeah.
So don't
So
ask her.
yeah. Please don't ask.
So we're gonna move on a little bit. So kind of still in the baby realm, but we're gonna just kind of talk briefly about this because I think a lot of moms can relate to this as well. You just went back to work this past week.
I did.
So, and I just want to say I'm proud of you because I feel like you're handling it, at least you're portraying to everybody else that you're handling it pretty well.
Yeah.
I know it probably hasn't been the easiest. So I kind of want you to talk about that briefly, like what
Yeah.
that's been like.
I'm handling it a lot better than what I thought I would.
Good.
For sure.
Good.
That first day was very hard. I cried all morning. But I had also never spent more than 3 hours away from him at a time. And that was only one day that I did that. It was
Right.
the Sunday before I went back to work. I was like, I should probably practice this. So I let my mom watch him for 3 hours, and I went with Andrew to the soccer field. And yeah, I hated that. So I was like, well, not going to do that anymore until I come back to work. So I'm forced to. But it felt so weird just leaving.
Yeah.
And I had never been that far away from him. I work in Bloomington. I live in Bloomfield. So that's like 40-minute drive.
Yeah.
And driving to work, I was just like, my arms felt empty. I was
Yeah.
like, this is so weird. I should
Right.
not be away from my son.
Yeah.
But my mom, like I said, she retired and she's our babysitter. We were going to have to do daycare. And if we would have done that, I think it would have been a
Way
million
worse.
times worse.
Yeah.
Like, gosh, my heart goes out to anybody who's dropping their baby off at daycare because I cannot imagine how
Yeah.
hard that would be.
Yeah.
But my mom comes to our house, so she's right here and she sends me pictures and they have a great time together.
Yeah.
And that first day was really, really hard. I got home, I was like, oh, thank God. And then the second day was a little bit easier. Friday was a little bit easier. Luckily, I only had to go 3 days before the weekend. I went back on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
It was nice to see everybody and kind of do my job again.
Yeah.
I love my job at the end of the day. There's politics at the hospital and healthcare and whatnot, but I love being an OT. I love helping people.
Right.
And it was kind of nice to be able to do that again.
Yeah.
Even though I would much rather be here with Landon, but it was fun to just kind of go back and be an OT again.
Right.
And then when I got home, I was, you know, the time with him was just so special.
Oh,
and
yes.
yeah, it's all going to be okay. You know, getting through this first week, I think, was a huge step.
Yes.
It's always going to suck leaving him, but it's, you know, it's getting easier.
I don't think I've really talked about this topic yet, and I really wanted to. Just the topic of like girlhood and kind of like the importance of having female friends. So I know that I already know straight off the bat that this episode's not going to be for the men, and I'm so sorry. But I also think I
Yeah.
encourage a lot of you to listen to this if you
Yeah.
would, because I think it's, especially if you're going to be like a girl dad, that's like the new
Right.
term, whatever. Because I really value my girl friendships so much, and I always like want to talk about it because I'd be nothing without my girlfriends. Would be nothing.
Same.
Like I think about it all the time, and like I have girlfriends of like across the spectrum. So I have like, you know, my married friends who are very established. They become mothers. You know, they're just really doing the damn thing. And then I have my other friends on the other side who are also like, you know, going through their own things of like having to date in this generation, having to.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a little rough out there. A little rough out there in the streets. And then, you know, going through divorces or going through, you know, really hard things on that end of the spectrum. So I think it's really cool that I have such a diverse group of friends. And I think a lot of women are like that. That's just what's so cool about women, is like we've got them all over the place. I think same thing with men too. I'm not diminishing that, but I do think is like I watched the Barbie movie. Kind of all over the place this topic, but I did see the Barbie movie, and I just want to like I think that right there really sparked my like deep appreciation for women and just my friends and my mom and just like any women that I'm like friends with. I'm like, you know what? I really love them and appreciate them, because I think that is just, it's really sad, the world that we live in. And the Barbie movie, like I cried 3 times.
See, I still haven't seen it.
Oh.
I wasn't able to tear myself away from Landon,
Right.
but I am so excited for it to stream.
It's
And
on HBO Max, I think.
perfect.
So.
I will watch it because I've heard so many good things about it. And yeah, like, I mean, girl power, I'm all for that.
I know.
I love it so much. And like you said, I also have a diverse group of girlfriends, and you know, we all always got each other's backs.
Exactly.
And it is sad the way the world is going, because we are regressing. And like, when you sent me these questions a couple days ago, and I was just kind of like thinking like about feminism and girlhood, and I think about how brave like those women must have been who fought for our rights that we have today. I mean, and I was trying to look at like some iconic women in time, and I had never heard about Abigail Adams.
Oh yeah.
So she wrote a letter to her husband and said, "Don't forget the women."
Yeah.
And that was in like the 1700s.
Yeah.
And she was like, "We will revolt against you if you forget the women."
Yeah.
And I'm like, heck yeah, I love you.
I know.
That is
like
great.
Iconic.
And then just like everyone else who has like fought for our rights, and like, yeah, how scary that must have been. And really, even like, it's not been that long ago that women were supposed to be like the ones who, you know, obeyed the man and stayed home and weren't able to get a job or work or be an independent person and be who they were. And like, it was not that long ago. And now we're kind of regressing back, and with all the laws that are being made, like losing rights for making our own decisions. Like, that's terrifying.
It is extremely terrifying. My grandma said that, so she said this to me a long time ago, and this always really stuck with me, that she remembers being in a time, it was like whenever her and my grandpa were really young, they lived in Indianapolis, they were just, you know, young whippersnappers out in the town with their friends, and the women could not sit at the bar stools at the bar. They were not allowed.
Oh my God.
They were not allowed. They had to sit at the booth or had to leave.
Wow.
And my grandma goes, "I don't think you guys understand like what we've had to," like, she goes, "I'm not diminishing like what other women have had to go through in these days, in this time," but she goes, "It was a totally different world then." And so my fear is that we're going to regress back to that, because I see it happening every single day. I see more and more men come out with these, like, I'm going to say it, toxic masculinity is what they're calling it. I mean, just this absolute hatred for women, and it is scary.
Yeah, like, oh, women shouldn't be that outspoken. No, that's not ladylike.
Exactly.
And, you know, like, what are you saying? I'm a human being. I'm just as much as a human as you are. I can do whatever you can do. Like, I can do your job.
I do it better.
I mean, if we're being honest.
No flip. I just think it's really, really cool because I like when I look at my friends on the spectrum that they're at, you know, and I look at what each of you have accomplished and in your own right and like what you guys have done, like hell, you and Daly killing it and what you guys are doing in your careers and now as mothers, like having to do both. I'm sorry. But men could never.
Yeah.
They could. I'm not diminishing what they go through. I'm not saying
Right.
this is not an I hate men and women are better. I mean, I think about that and I go, that is so cool to me. And I think of like my friends on the other side of the spectrum, like who really don't want kids, but they have that right to decide. They don't have to have kids. They don't have to be a housewife that stays home and does that. If they want to go out and do whatever they want, they can.
Yeah.
Or you know, then you could do both. You could work and you could be a mom, or you could stay home with your children if you want. Like that's the beauty of having the choice to do so.
Or you can work and not have kids. Like there's no rule book that says we have to be a specific type of person. I mean, there's nothing for men that says that. Why should there be something for women that says that?
I'm just so tired of like these rule books that seem to be so separate from one another.
Yeah.
And we have to follow a certain rule book and then they have to follow a certain rule book, but theirs can be broken and twisted and convoluted, but ours has to be by the book.
Right.
It is extremely frustrating.
Yeah, without getting way too political, but I mean, you never see any laws about a man's body.
Never.
And it's really concerning to me that there are laws regarding my body and what I do with it.
And they're developed by men.
By a man. Even in my job, I'll go in with like a PT counterpart. I'm an OT. And if it's a man, like the patient will all of a sudden just focus on the man talking. Like it's just something that we do unconsciously, I think.
And you don't even realize that you're doing it. Yeah.
And like even though it might be something that I'm addressing, they'll be looking at the man.
Right.
And so, I mean, we've come a long way as women, but I think that there's still a long way to go.
So much work to do.
And I think
so much.
I mean, that's why feminism is important.
Yeah.
And it's great for men to be feminists too.
I agree.
And it's not hating men, it's supporting women.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to read to Izzy the famous Barbie speech. I don't think it's going to ruin too much for you because there's just so much more to the movie that makes it so amazing that I really think it'll be okay. You ready?
Yeah.
Okay. It's literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful, so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like we have to always be extraordinary, but somehow we always do it wrong. You have to be thin, but not too thin, and you could never say you want to be thin. You have to say you want to be healthy, but also you have to be thin. You have to have money, but you can't ask for money because that's crass. You have to be a boss, but you can't be mean. You have to lead, but you can't squash other people's ideas. You are supposed to love being a mother, but don't talk about your kids all the damn time. You have to be career driven, but also looking out for other people. You have to answer for men's bad behavior, which is insane, but if you point that out, you are accused of complaining. You are supposed to stay pretty for men, but not so pretty that you tempt them too much or that you threaten other women because you're supposed to be part of a sisterhood. Always stand out and always be grateful. But never forget that the system is rigged, so find a way to acknowledge that, but always be grateful. You have to never get old, never be rude, never show off, never be selfish, never fall down, never fail, never show fear, never get out of line. It's too hard, it's too contradictory, and nobody gives you a medal or says thank you. And it turns out that not only are we doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. I'm just tired from watching myself and every other single woman tie themselves into knots so that people will like us. And if all that is also true for a doll just representing a woman, then I don't even know.
Wow.
It was truly the most like iconic speech I've ever heard in my life, and she's gonna do a way better job of it than I, because I mean you're gonna see it.
Oh my god!
And it's
that is spot on.
Yeah. I sat there and I go, yeah, that literally.
And I feel like every woman is probably like, yeah.
And I just wish that men would listen to that. Like I wish they would absorb that, like the pressure that we feel to be 100% perfect all the damn time. It is insane to me.
Yeah.
And frustrating, and I'm over it.
Yeah, it is very frustrating.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, but not too whatever.
Yeah.
Or,
you have to be thin, but not too thin.
Fall into a very and like I think we've heard our guy friends too talk about it, which they're
that's the sad thing is like you can hear it come out of their voice, and it's unconsciously like they're not meaning to say it, but they say it, and you're just kind of like, there it is.
Yeah.
Like and it's very like telling, and it's a reality that I did not recognize until I want to say like even in the last year.
Yeah.
Like I've always known it, but I think in the last year I've really come to terms of like paying attention to it. And I'm like,
it's also one of those things where it's like am I the only one that thinks this?
Yeah.
But then like, oh no, this is the way it is, and it's messed up.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like actually that's exactly how it is. Like this is just the system, and you really do have to just kind of go with it, because if you go against it, then you're too much. So I definitely want to have that conversation with you, because I see that you are like a strong woman in my life, and so I thought you'd be a good one to have the combo with.
Yeah.
So.
No, it's and I'm thankful that I've had strong women in my life to help shape me too.
Yeah.
Like my mom has always been a very strong, independent woman, and my mother-in-law.
She don't email me.
My grandma, you know, just strong women in my life. My friends. Yeah.
Yeah.
We got to be here for one another, because
exactly.
we get it.
Because we're the only ones that will be. That's the kind of the sad thing, is like we're the only other ones that understand what it's like to go through that. You ready to talk about a topic that I'm so excited as, guys?
I am.
The summer I turned pretty. So this has become my new obsession. For all of you that have probably watched it, probably like, this has been a good show. I don't know what you're talking about. But
it's old news.
I just watched it. Like the first season. I've not watched the second season. I don't know if I'm emotionally ready for it, because I've seen some spoilers and I'm thinking, great.
Yeah.
So I'm Team Conrad.
I'm Team Jeremiah.
I did put a poll on my Instagram the other day.
Who won?
Team Conrad did win. I mean, I like Conrad the best, because when I was watching the show, and those who follow me on Instagram have already seen that I post about it, but I think he looks like a younger Joe Burrow.
He really
does. And I'm just
does.
obsessed with him.
No, when you said that, I was like, that's who he looks like. Because I was like, he looks like somebody.
Yeah, it's the
he
hair.
Does. He does look like Joe Burrow.
I just love him so much. I don't know if anybody else, like, I don't know like how big of a show it is for everybody, but because I feel like a lot of people didn't really talk about it too much, like within our friend group. Like I didn't even know you guys had seen it.
Yeah, and Eric and Trenton have seen it.
Had no idea.
Yep.
So Trenton voted Jeremiah.
Yeah.
Eric voted Conrad.
That makes sense.
That checks out.
Yeah.
So no, I had no idea it was this big of like a deal, because I kept hearing it was like really cheesy and like kind of corny.
Yeah.
And it is.
It is very.
It is, but I'm obsessed.
Yeah.
I'm obsessed with that show.
Well, and so when I was off of my Achilles injury, my friend Alicia let me borrow the books.
Yeah.
And I remember reading this like, God, this is so childish, but like I'm addicted to it.
You're just addicted.
Like these are kids, but like I can't like look away. And then the show came on. The show's way better than the books, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Which is kind of rare.
Yeah, that is rare.
But yeah, there's some different things in the books. So I enjoyed the show.
Yeah.
And yeah, I'm Team Jeremiah. Like, because
I do love Jeremiah. He's so cute.
He's cute. He definitely looks younger, which he is.
Yeah.
But like, I just love that he's always there for her. He's genuine.
Great guy.
You know, a nice guy.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like his mom always wanted them to end up together.
I know.
I'm not a Belly fan. I'm not either. Stand Belly.
I never liked the main person though, ever.
She's just like, God, I just want to.
Well, every time she does something, I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, like
what are you doing, girl? Why did you do that?
Yeah, but I feel like Jeremiah's always like been like, this is how I feel. You know, I mean.
And Conrad's like playing hard to get.
Yeah.
Which is my type.
Yeah, it is. So.
You're like, Jesus, yes.
Season 2 is really good.
See, I'm glad it's good, because I get worried about like second seasons, because like sometimes they never live up to like the first season. But I'm excited.
I think the first season's better, but the second season's good.
This is good. Okay.
I hated the moment, and I know you loved the moment where Conrad came up to her at the ball.
Yeah,
I hated that.
Stepped in, and I liked it so much because the Taylor Swift song playing, like The Way I Loved You.
The soundtrack is. Chef's kiss.
I was watching this and I go, that is so great. I was like this. This was before work. I was watching and I was like,
in the morning.
Before work in the morning, because I had gone to the gym and I have time. So I was like sitting there watching it because I was addicted. I like couldn't stop watching it. And I sat there and I was like this, watching that whole scene. And on the way to work, I listened to The Way I Love You from Taylor Swift.
But I hated it because Jeremiah just found out.
Well, Conrad and Belly didn't know that. They didn't know that. Conrad knew the whole summer.
Found out.
Conrad knew the whole time and had to keep that in by himself.
Yeah, but Jeremiah just found out. He was processing, and then he walks back in and sees his brother dancing with his girl.
Because she didn't have anybody. She was left. She was embarrassed.
Well, she should have known better. See, there I am. Knocking a woman.
She should have known better. She should have been a telepathic and known.
Great show.
Team Conrad for life.
Team Jeremiah.
I did read that the spoiler was like, it's a bad season for us Team Conrad girlies.
Yeah. Not gonna lie.
Damn it. Okay. Rapid fire time.
Okay.
Dun dun dun. That's my little music I'm
I
gonna make
like
for
it.
it. Okay,
Oh boy.
you
I
ready?
gotta answer quick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fave Hamilton song.
Oh
I knew this
boy.
was gonna get her. I knew it was gonna get her.
Oh, dear Theodosia.
All right. Okay, what is your favorite basic thing? So, like for example, mine is a pumpkin spice latte.
Okay. I was gonna say that, but I'll choose something
Oh,
different.
you can say
My
that if you want.
Stanley.
Stanley girl, that water do be crisp.
Mm, it's crisp.
I took a big swig
She
out of it one
leaks,
day.
but God, I love her.
She's a crispy girl. I do love that. When Landon is older, would you rather him play baseball or soccer?
Oh man. I would I would have to say soccer. I think that'd be cute with his dad.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
would be really cute.
Yeah.
Who was your favorite Harry Potter character?
Mm, man, this is tough. I mean, I'll just say Hermione. I love
Hermione
Hermione.
Granger. I like her. If you could drink one beer for the rest of your life, what would it be?
The Cali Smash from Pete's Store. Please bring it back. Please.
I love it. I love it. You did good though. You answered pretty
Oh,
quick. I mean,
thank you.
I knew I was going to stump you on the first one. I was so
Yeah,
excited when I
that
thought
one's
of that
tough.
one.
Dear Theodosia, like, that one's just like,
See,
yeah,
I've not
it's got
even
my
watched
heart.
Hamilton. I just knew.
Oh,
Yeah.
I've seen it probably over 25 times.
Yeah, I know you're obsessed with it.
Obsessed. Yeah,
Obsessed.
listen to the soundtrack all the time
She's a
still.
Hamilton girl.
Love Hamilton. Seen it one time. I want to see it again. But yeah, it's very good.
I need to see it. I want to go see it. So next time you go see it, let me know. I'll go
Okay.
with you.
Yeah, let's do it.
Give
I'm
it a
down.
go. Give it a go.
Okay.
All right. Well, you did a great job.
Thank
That
you.
concludes Izzy's interview.
Thanks for watching, everybody.
Oh, that was so cute.
I hope I didn't bore you too much.
You didn't. No,
Yeah.
no. I thought yours was great.
Well, thank you.
Everyone, please be sure to like and then subscribe and leave a little comment if you'd like, whatever you guys want. And I will catch you on the next one. See ya.